The United States just declared that XRP will now power their entire financial infrastructure. In fact, the United States President Donald Trump just signed a bill, a massive executive order that is going to replace the Federal Reserve current payment system known as the Federal Now payment system with a next generation payment system powered entirely by XRP and the XRP ledger. And this coincides perfectly with what the President of the United States, Donald Trump, actually announced as part of the USA Crypto Reserve, where he announced publicly and made it clear that XRP would lead in the crypto strategic reserve, with about 60% of it being of XRP and only 15% being in Bitcoin. Now, this is a major development, because when we look at the value of this crypto strategic reserve, you realize that it's valued substantially above the $38 trillion price point. In fact, in a recent strategic proposal unveiled that is set to dissolve the US national debt of $38 trillion, all of it is set to be facilitated directly using XRP. In fact, here's the proposal. It was by Rowan Exchange, and it highlights quite clearly that XRP would now be the Federal Reserve acting means of payment to facilitate all the national debt and all internal payments happening between different government institutions, both internally and externally, meaning all payment infrastructure and all payment transactions happening within the entire United States ecosystem would end up being facilitated directly using XRP, resulting in XRP becoming the main means of currency in the United States of America. Now, this makes sense and it works on multiple different means. For example, the only hedge against inflation that there is to work with that's a currency is the XRP compared to the US dollar, which continues to lose value and deflate. And it gets even crazier when you realize what's happening between BRICS right now, what's happening within the oil infrastructure areas like the Middle East, where the Chinese yen is taking a much bigger priority than the US dollar. And so we're seeing a devaluation, and the petrodollar actually loses strength versus the Chinese yen, and all the other currencies continue to increase. And this is where XRP comes in, because XRP works as an intermediary where both the Middle East is willing to use it and the United States basically runs it, because Ripple is an American company. Again, we got to talk realistic when we're in this situation rather than emotion. And so from all the logical perspectives, it makes so much sense why XRP would replace the US dollar and why the United States would sign an executive order at a very critical time to integrate XRP and use it to facilitate payments within the United States of America. And again, we got to understand quite quickly here that the XRP price will have to reflect the massive amounts of adoption. For example, when we're talking about trillions of dollars being facilitated directly using XRP and directly on the XRP ledger, then the amount of value that will transact onto XRP will trigger a major supply shock, because there is not enough demand. And it gets even bigger when you introduce the RLUSD, which is a stable coin pegged directly with the US dollar. Now, why is this a big deal? Because we're looking at all the elements of a fully functional system, payment infrastructure, actually built that could very easily integrate within the American infrastructure and basically take it over. And it serves as a much bigger deal when we look at RLUSD, which is built on the XRP ledger, transacts on the XRP ledger, and is actually bringing in billions of dollars on a monthly and yearly basis to facilitate these, extra transactions. Right now, RLUSD is the critical infrastructure required by banks. So, and banks don't typically like to use XRP because it moves a lot, versus RUSD is the stablecoin, so it doesn't move at all. And so, right now you have the perfect mix. You have a US pegged stablecoin and XRP, and both of them are on the XRP ledger. And so, if we were to look at the numbers, giving approximate numbers, predictions for what the XRP price would be, we're talking about $10,000 per XRP, slightly lower, slightly higher, give or take. So we might go to 9,500 to 10,500. That is my prediction, but that's also the prediction of a lot of experts out there. Like, take a look at this report, for example, which is the real President Monica Long says the use case is going to be a massive trend, and we have customers who already want to use the stablecoin RUSD in payments, and RUSD will pump XRP to over $10,000. Again, historically, we've seen that happen. For example, USDT pumped Bitcoin to 90,000, USDC pumped Ethereum to 4,890, and XRP is about to get pumped massively by RLUSD to about $10,000. Now, real quickly, before we jump into further details and further confirmation that $10,000 per XRP has basically been confirmed, and it might happen as early as in April this month, we might begin seeing the trigger of the massive XRP price. I want to remind you guys that we're back to uploading every single day, videos, updates on the latest crypto news. And we would really appreciate it if you guys could simply just subscribe, like, share, and comment. So guys, again, just 3 simple steps. It definitely helps out the channel. And with that being said, let's jump right into the video. In the next 1 to 2 weeks, trillions of dollars are going to enter in. Starting off with $2 trillion by Barclay, which is a United Kingdom, the second largest bank there. Well, now they're using XRP because the report has just revealed that they're moving to integrate XRP encrypted deposits and payments, and this is reported from Bloomberg that now XRP integration will begin commencing. Now, again, this is such a big deal because this is a major institution in the United Kingdom. But it gets even crazier because it's not just the United Kingdom that's working towards approving and accepting and integrating XRP. Even in the United States, it's also happening. And even on a global level, it's happening. For example, BlackRock has reported that they will invest approximately $9 trillion over the next 5 years in XRP. Again, $9 trillion, which, again, $9 trillion on its own would take XRP into the tens, if not hundreds of dollars. But if you do the calculations, you take 9 trillion plus the 2 trillion, then you are going to get into the thousands. And that's not even including all the other big developments that we mentioned earlier in the video. And as we look at the US national debt crossing about $39 trillion, there's even more money about to be integrated. Because JP Morgan revealed that they'll be officially tokenizing real world asset markets up to $13 trillion of that by 2030. Again, a major development that will integrate trillions more dollars directly, potentially entering into XRP in the XRP ledger. And so when we go back to the main number of $10,000 to $20,000, or in this case, specifically $10,000 per XRP, it makes a lot of sense. Specifically when you tell you that there's going to be a major development that's going to unlock about $2.16 trillion just next week on April 17th. Take a look at this right here. There is going to be about $2.16 trillion in potential value entering the XRP Ledger ecosystem from an institution known as RealFi. RealFi, a major payment rewards institution that deals with real-world assets and other massive industries, has officially announced that they're going to be unveiling a major partnership. This one valued at $2.16 trillion directly on the XRP Ledger, and it's happening on April 17th. What's critical to understand is this is actually on the XRP ledger, not, using it in another way, shape, or form. This is actually happening on the XRP ledger. How so? Well, it's actually all being powered by the Real token, a token entirely built on the XRP ledger, and it's actually transacting, burning XRP with every single transaction. Now, this is massive. In fact, Real token is up 31% in the last 24 hours, and this is only the start, meaning it's probably going to spike even higher. The market cap is up 31.2%, and the volume, well, it's about 3.8% up, about $100,000. And even with this, Real token is very, very, very early. I mean, guys, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, in my personal opinion. Earnings received a 94% bullish score, meaning there's bullish sentiment, everybody believes it's going to go up, and it's currently only available on 3 locations: MEX, which is a centralized exchange, BTCC exchange, and mainly all XRP Ledger decentralized exchanges. So, for example, X Magnetic and a few others. And guys, this keeps getting crazier because the price keeps on soaring, the volume keeps on surging, and we're about to get a major unlock of, again, $2.16 trillion on April 17th. So the closer and closer we get to April 17th, the higher the price is going to soar, and it could go as high as $500 to $600, which is what one analyst actually reported. Let me pull that up for you because it's extremely bullish, because we're talking about Real token, a cryptocurrency valued at literally underneath a penny that could go to $600, breaking historic highs in terms of hundreds of thousands of percentages. Meaning every $10,000 could potentially make you a multimillionaire all in the next week and a half, even less than that. A week and a half, just imagine the generational wealth that could be made. $100,000 could make you a multi-millionaire. But let's pull up the exact report and the exact. XRP Queen, known for massive amounts of followers, she's a major analyst, predicted that Real tokens rise from 4 cents to over $1,000 as adoption continues to grow. And so we again are talking about revolutionary generational wealth being created in a very short time period, and we having the opportunity to get into it. And so again, I'm very, very bullish on Real token. I got myself a bag, and I gotta say that, I mean, if there's something that I believe is going to skyrocket, it definitely is going to be Real token, because it's utility-based, solving a multi-trillion dollar problem. It's actually has a very, very low supply. It's actually one of the lowest supplies, so it could very easily experience supply shock, and it's backed by major institutions like RealFi. If you take a look here, for example, RealFi is a payment rewards framework, and they've already facilitated over $1.24 million. And I mean, this is a major institution that, again, uses Real token for every single transaction. And they make that clear at the bottom here, where, again, it talks about how RealFi actually uses the Real token, and how, again, Real token is a major part of the RealFi framework. I'm going to be leaving all the information down below in the description, including all the links for you to check out RealFi. Real token obviously on Max, and real token on the XRP ledger. And again, as April 17th comes closer and closer, it's important to understand that the price of real token will definitely be impacted as a result, probably higher and higher, because again, we're getting closer to integrating $2.16 trillion. Now, guys, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and actually conclude the video. As I mentioned at the beginning, guys, please subscribe, like, and comment, as well as share this video with your friends and family, because it helps out the channel, and we're back to uploading daily videos every single day. So again, I'll be leaving everything down below in the description. Make you like, comment, subscribe, share this video. I'll see you